Grandpa. Tell me about the good old days. Sometimes it feels like this world's gone crazy.
Welcome to Recollections, the Middle Tennessee Voices of Their Time series. A look at the past through the experiences of Middle Tennesseans. I'm Bob Bullen of Middle Tennessee State University, visiting with Willie Brandon, custodian of the Rutherford County Courthouse. We're going to start part 2 of our interview with Willie, and we're sitting presently in the restored lobby of the courthouse. In part 1, we talked about Willie's early days, his early childhood, and his career in Chicago. Willie, we've worked our way through World War II, and you changed jobs after a period of time at the City Café, but let's talk a little bit more about the City Café. What was a typical day like, and what was the life of a cook like at the City Café?
It was a hard life. It was a rough work. You had a lot of responsibility and work too. You had to prepare that food, and it had to be where the customer would like it, or else they wouldn't eat it. It's a hard job if you do it right.
What kind of schedule did you work?
12 hours a day, go in the morning at 6 and get off at 6. Sometimes I have to work later.
Work 6 days a week?
7 days a week.
7 days a week.
I put up 75 and 80 hours a week around the clock.
Was there a health inspection that you had to pass?
We had a health inspection, and you had to have a health card hanging in the kitchen, because the man was around from every 3 months to once a month. You didn't know when he was coming. He'd come around and inspect everything, the food, the kitchen, and all. You had to have a health card.
Tell me a little bit about buying food and preparing food. Did you have a major responsibility in doing this?
Partly, yeah. I have to buy food, see it's the right food, store it in the right places. It's a responsible job. A cook's not a responsible job.
Did you have a favorite butcher that you went to?
The C.B. Arnott was on the square. He was a favorite butcher and a good butcher.
Now, you went to work for Lamb's later on and spent approximately 20 years with them?
I stayed with them 22 years with the Lambs.
7 days a week?
7 days a week.
That's a pretty hard schedule to keep up, Willie. How'd you do that?
I wonder now, how did I do it? I can't say.
Older people in Murfreesboro remember well the visit of General Douglas McArthur in 1950 or 51. You prepared his meal, didn't you?
I helped to prepare his meal in 1950-51. That was a great day.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. What do you remember of the General? Did you talk to him, and what did you fix him to eat?
I didn't talk to him, but I got to see him. There's such a huge crowd of people. Till I never did get too close to him, but I got to see him. This area was full of people that day.
What did you fix to eat that day, Willie? You remember what you prepared for the General?
Yeah, we had turkey, dressing, ham, everything eatable was out there. We had it all. Desserts of all kinds, drinks, Kool-Aid, everything.
Nobody told you a special menu to prepare that day, though, did they?
No, nobody didn't tell me the special menu. They just prepared what they thought would be good on that day.
Well, Willie, you worked for 22 years for Lamb's, and you were starting to get up in years a little bit.
I retired there.
But you didn't quit working, obviously.
I will never quit working as long as God give me strength. If I don't work here, I'll work somewhere.
Well, what type of work did you do after you left Lamb's?
I went to working for myself after I left Lamb's. I worked 5 years for myself.
Bought some trucks?
Bought 2. Bought 2 trucks, went to hauling hay, moving people, whatever there's a dollar in, I was out there to get it.
Willie, let's talk about this courthouse. This courthouse is really an integral part of Rutherford County history, and you seem to give it a lot of loving care. What's your thoughts about the courthouse? You've been here since 1980, I believe.
She's great. There's a great staff in it. Some great people here. Some wonderful people.
So you feel like you're taking care of something that's important?
It's got a lot of value to it.
The county executive, John Mankin, gave you a proclamation which we're going to show in a few minutes. What was that proclamation all about?
Well, he chopped me. I still don't know what it's all about. But it's great.
Was it on your birthday?
On my birthday. And he was at my birthday. She gave a, what gave it out to Stratton Park? And I didn't know anything about what was happening. And when I walked in there was Mr. Mackin standing there with this provocation. He shot me, that made me sick.
You're not used to getting that kind of attention,
I
are you?
wasn't expecting nothing like that.
Well, Willie, we've talked about how hard you've worked and the types of jobs that you've held. Let's talk a little bit about what you've learned in 85 years. Tell me about education today and how young people act today and how you think they ought to be acting.
I'm for education. I'm a great person for educating. Educate the youth so this world can move on. And that's the only way that we're going to solve all these problems, is through education. The more of you educate, the less crime you'll have. We need to educate our young people if there's any way possible. Educate. That'll kill some crime, I think.
You've seen a lot of technology develop in your lifetime. What did you think when America was able to put somebody on the moon?
It didn't surprise me. It didn't surprise me. Because we are supposed to advance, not go backwards. It didn't surprise me. And I won't live to see it, but we're going to see some more than the man going on the moon.
Those are positive things that you've seen, but you've also witnessed some terrible moments in our country's history. The assassination of President Kennedy and the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King. Tell me how that affected you when those type of things occurred.
It was a sad situation. It's sad. But
Willie, you sent a daughter through college when you were working. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, that was a hard thing to do. Making $22.50 a week with a house note and a girl in college. That was a problem.
What college did you send her to?
A&I.
You remember the years?
In the 40s, in the late 40s, 48, 47, somewhere along there, she started school. Yeah, my son was college.
So you were determined to get her through school no matter what? Well, Willie, I'd like to talk.
And the greatest part that makes me feel proud, I got her through. She's 64 and retired with 3 daughters of her own. I was in Chicago a year ago, and my oldest granddaughter said, "Grandpa, let's get in the car, we're going to carry downtown." We went downtown and she'd asked me, did I remember this building or that building, and the town has developed so till I didn't know too much about where I was at in Chicago, and lived there 20 years. But finally she came to a building, she said, "See that building over yonder, Granddaddy?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "That's where I work at." I said, "Yeah." I said, "It's a bank." She says, "Yeah." And she said, "You know what my job is in there?" I said, "No." She says, "I'm in the loan department." Say, I'm the second person that they see to qualify to make these $2.1 million loans. That made me feel mighty good.
I think so.
Huh?
I would think so. Willie, you were lucky. You were one of the first blacks, maybe the first one in Rutherford County to own a television. How did that happen?
Through the lady that I worked for, Miss Lamb. They delivered her TV. And I was making up biscuits, I'll never forget, and she called me. She says, "Willie, come here, I want to show you something." So I went to the house and looked. That's it, and the man was tuning it in. I says, "Ooh, that's nice." And after he got it set up, he looked at her and says, "Miss Lamb, you ought to get your cook one." She says, "What?" She said, "You ought to buy a Willie one." So I got a demonstrator sitting in the window that you could get for him, and says, it'd be nice for him after you get off work. She said, "What about carrying it out to his house and putting it in?" She says, "Take it out there." So when I got home, it was sitting. in the winter. And all the black kids around in the area, my wife had nieces and nephews, 10 and 12 years old. We'd go to work and leave the door open, and they'd lay on the floor and look at the TV and cut it off and go home. And we'd be on the job. Yeah, I guess I was around the first level TV. But Miss Lamb bought it for me.
Well, Willie, I want to talk about a couple more things and we'll wind it up.
All right.
Let's talk a little bit more about your philosophy of life. What would you tell young people coming along today other than to get an education? How would you tell them to live their lives?
Well, I don't know, but for my part, I'd tell them to listen to what other people had to say. Listen. Don't be so easy to jump up and decide I know it all. Listen. And you'll learn.
That's good advice. What else would you tell somebody? What about religion? What would you say about religion? That's played a big part in your life.
Yeah, and I'd advise these youngsters to go to church. Go to church on Sunday morning. You won't hurt. Go to church. Any church. Go in church.
Willie, do you read the paper and keep up with current events?
Yeah, mostly. I keep up with most of the things.
Well, you know we've had a lot of racial problems in our country and things are better today, but what would you tell people to help our nation do a better job with racial relations?
Well, I'd say for us all to get together and understand each other. Understanding is one thing we got to learn, to understand each other. And to learn to give a little. You can't have everything your way all the time. Learn to give, and you receive.
Well, Willie, we're going to close it out with one more question. Do you expect to live to be 100?
I hope to live to get 105.
You're going to try to beat your grandfather's record, aren't you? That's pretty good. Well, let's close out, Willie, by bringing your wife up here. So let's stand up and introduce Mrs. Brandon.
How you doing, Mr. Brandon?
What it was.
Okay. So introduce your wife, Willie, and we'll close it out.
Well, I want you to meet Mrs. Brandon, right here. This is my heart. This is what's brought me to where I'm at today.
Okay. Well, Willie, I want to thank you for sharing your experiences with us, and I want to wish you and Mrs. Brandon continued good luck in the future, and I hope you stay a long time down at the courthouse. We sure need you.
I thank you.
All right. This is Bob Bullen signing off from the Rutherford County Courthouse.
Tell me about the good old days. Sometimes it feels like this world's gone crazy. Grandpa, take me back to yesterday, when the line between right and wrong didn't seem so hazy.